Laura from St. Gallen, right?
Yes.
Yes. Welcome to the GOA podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So I will just tell you a little bit about the reason why I want, like, it's not that it's like a downgrade to talk not to such high profile people, um, because I am really, really interested in your guys' story, because we always hear about on Ben Foster and on all the other big podcasts, we always hear the mostly the success stories and those who have just done it like this. But I also want to hear the story of um, yeah, you like in women's football, and others that is playing maybe like semi amateur, and they have probably like a work on the side, and still they are fighting to make the dreams in the game come true. And the respect I have for that is enormous because I've only known one thing, that's to be a professional footballer. So, yeah, first of all, Laura, I have huge respect for you, first and foremost.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, and second of all, I'm really interested in your story, and I want to bring some light on you guys as well. So, tell me a little bit about your background, how you've made your way in the game, and also a little bit about your day to day life. How does a day in the life of Laura look like?
Yeah, of course. Well, I started playing early on. I was 5 years old, as many kids, dreaming of becoming a pro. What I didn't know back then was that for women's football, it looks a bit different. We're not going to make millions of dollars. So, yeah, I just started still thinking I'm going to make it pro. And then I played in Switzerland for the boys' teams first, and then some women's academies like FC Zurich, and that those are probably teams you know. And then from an early age on, it was clear that I'm not going to be super tall, which again is a huge problem as a goalkeeper. So they told me, like, yeah, don't even try. You're not going to make it pro. So then I got the opportunity to go to the States to get a scholarship. And I said, well, that's super cool. Women's football over there, super good. So I went to America for 4 years, played college soccer. Um, I won the national championship the last year I was there, so that was pretty cool. Now we have a fancy ring and everything. So yeah, it was pretty cool. And I still wanted to go pro, I knew I wasn't tall enough, but like, who tells me I can't try? So I found this agent that helped me, and I actually went pro in Romania for half a year. I played there, which, like, living there is different, of course. Like, it's a poor country, but still they could pay us players. We had apartments, we had food, and a little bit of extra money, but it's not like a lot. Like, you don't save up anything. And so I realized, like, hey, I want to play soccer, but it's not going to get me enough money to just do that. So then I decided to found my own company. I'm a mental performance coach for goalkeepers out of all sports. So if a goalkeeper is listening right there, give me a call.
Yeah.
um, so I built that aside of football. And now currently I play in Switzerland in the highest league, which again, they try to pay us a little bit, but of course, it's not enough to afford rent and everything. So, with my business, besides football, I'm able to afford that. And I know you asked for like a day in my life. Usually, the typical day is I work the whole day and then I go to practice. We practice at like 5 p.m. because a lot of our girls do studies or they work because we don't make enough money. And once or twice a week, I get the privilege to train in the mornings as well, so that I get 2 sessions, but that's just twice a week. So, other than that, I just have a full day of work and then I rush to practice, get that in. And then sometimes I even have to work afterwards. And then, yeah, you're tired and you just go to bed. Yeah.
And that's what fascinates me a little bit is that you tell me that it's a 1 or 2 days a week you have the privilege of training in the morning.
Mm.
Like us, for especially male athletes on the top levels, like that's like standard. Uh, we train in the morning, and then we get breakfast, we train, we have masseuses, we have physiotherapists, we have doctors, we have a chef cooking like the perfect lunch for us. We can go home, we can sleep. Like we can do all of that stuff, you know. And
Mhm.
you say it's a privilege only to just to train in the morning. So
Yeah.
then it's not only, of course, you don't do this only for financial gains to play, still playing. So what is it that with the game and maybe with the position that with all the stuff that you have going on with your business, you still want to continue competing and playing?
Mhm. Well, I think there's many reasons. Like one, I just love being a goalkeeper. I don't want to give that up quite yet. So of course I'm going to do everything to still do that. And then it's also we're kind of examples for the young girls. We can try to do our best to improve that issue, and maybe in 10, 20 years the girls can live off football. And I think that's what we work hard for every day, to get those girls in the future the chance to maybe make a little more money with it. So I guess it's mainly these two reasons.
Yeah. And also you mentioned earlier on your journey as a goalkeeper that many told you about height and you not
Hmm.
being tall enough. And there's so many goalkeepers messaging me where they are worried about not being tall enough, or they've been told that they're not tall enough to play. And then I think you need to be a bit, secure in yourself, because you need to trust yourself that even though there's many people that is maybe doubting me or telling me I can't do it, still you have to have some fire inside to prove them wrong. So when people maybe told you that you're not tall enough and you can't make it in professional football, um, what inside you made you keep going?
I mean, of course, at a young age, you still don't realize how that topic actually is a thing. Like, you still think, well, if I'm good enough, Manchester City will sign me. So, like, I think as a young player, it just helped me thinking, first of, who tells me I won't grow anymore? You don't know that. And second off, like, I can prove them wrong. But then as you get older, you realize, okay, maybe Manchester City won't call me.
Mm,
But then there's still so many clubs that can give you a chance, and you might just
mm,
have to be satisfied not playing in the league you once dreamt of. But that doesn't rule out that you can have a really good team and play a big role in that team. And especially for young goalkeepers, I think a lot of times it comes with pressure. You get told you don't grow, and then you don't grow. But some of them then quit, and half a year later they grew so much.
yeah,
So I think for young goalkeepers that get told that, it's important to realize, hey, this is not the end. I can still grow. I don't have to think I won't grow. I can still do plyometrics and stuff like that.
yeah.
You just have to find your game.
So so of course you touched on it a little bit there. So if there was like a young girl or young boy coming to you um, as a mental performance coach and telling them they were doubting themselves from a young age, maybe not being tall enough, losing a lot of confidence because of that, how would you then? Because that's a bit interesting. How would you maybe coach them to overcome the fears that they might have?
hmm I mean, at first, I'd say it depends on the person, their background. Of course, you have to check on that first. But I think an important thing for us as goalkeepers is we're always the losers, basically. Like, being a hero
Mm,
as a goalkeeper is hard, right? Because
yeah,
everyone wants to score on us. So I try to tell them, like, look, no one's going to give you the confidence. You have to have it in yourself. You have to think you're the best goalkeeper in the world, even if it's not true at the moment. So I think, of course, there's many tools you can do for confidence, but I think the most important thing is to just believe in yourself, to realize, hey, no matter what others tell me, there's always going to be someone that's better. there's always going to be someone that tells you you have no chance, but that doesn't define what you're going to do. How much are you willing to work, for your mental game, for your physical game? It's you have so many things in your control, and you should try to focus all your energy on that. That's what I would probably tell them. Of course, in a like session, you have more time to give individual tools, but I think that's just the main thing you have to understand.
Because one good thing that you mentioned when you talked about your story is that you moved to the US
Mhm.
to play. And I think that says a lot about mentality and the wanting to get better and to challenge yourself. So how did it come about to move to the US, and how did you find playing there, moving away from friends and family? Tell me about that period of your life.
Mhm. So I think I was about 16 when an agency that works in Germany and Switzerland helping athletes going over contacted me. So then I was like, that sounds amazing because I've always wanted to play somewhere else. And of course, learning English, living in the US sounded great. So I just told them, yeah, I'm really interested. And they told me, like, yeah, you can get really high scholarships. And at first, I didn't had like too many offers that were like full scholarships. So I was like, I waited a little bit because for me, it was clear like I can't afford like much money, just to go there. So then we had like a showcase in Germany, and my college coach was there, and he talked to me afterwards, and they offered me a full ride. So I was like, let's go. So, but it's funny because I was in Kentucky in like a super small town. So nothing you imagine it being like, because like you imagine these big schools with everything, but it wasn't like in the movies. It was just a small, familiar school. Like it's super cool because you pretty much know everyone because it's so small.
Yeah,
But I loved it because the environment there is so much more professional than we have it here, especially on the female side. Like in Switzerland, in the youth teams, like they're just now starting to get access to like the gym and stuff like that. So I didn't have that back then. So for me, coming to a place where you have the field next to the gym, you have athletic trainers and everything, that was like a dream. So I really enjoyed my time there. Of course, I met people from all over the world, which is amazing. Now, if I want to go on vacation to Spain, I have 10 friends. So I think it's just an awesome experience. Of course, it's hard at first because you leave your family behind, you don't know what to expect. But like, you have a team there, you get a new family, you meet so many people, and you get the chance to study as well, which is what helped me go into sports psychology. So for me, it was just the perfect fit.
amazing. And from a young age, how did you learn goalkeeping? Were you fortunate to have someone coaching you from a young age, or did it take time until you get someone to coach you as a goalkeeper?
Mhm. Well, I decided to be a goalkeeper when I was about 8, so pretty early on.
Yeah.
And my club had like goalkeeper practices once a week. So we learned like basic stuff like catching a ball and diving. So I was really fortunate to have that at a young age. And then, of course, once I came into the academy, we had like 2 practices a week with just the goalkeepers. So I did have that like over my whole career, I'd say. And it also helped me, get a good technique and everything. But of course, it's interesting to see how like different the techniques are depending on what coach you have, especially in
Yeah.
the U.S. They coach so differently. So when I came back to Switzerland, I was like, oh, this is so new to me. So yeah, but I was fortunate to have goalkeeper practices.
In what way did they coach differently in the US?
I'd say it's just like the skills they do a bit differently. Like the 1v1 blocking technique is slightly different. They're just more on the physical side. They like to just hit shots and not look at technique and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just a bit different.
And how important do you think it is, young goalkeepers maybe wanting to get better today, um, getting a good goalkeeper coach from a young age? How important do you think it is?
I think it is important, to learn the basics, but I also think at a young age, you should limit it because today's goalkeepers need to be so good with their feet. So I think it's dangerous to just put them in goalkeeper practice too early and too much. But like one session a week for young goalkeepers, which is basics, I think can be really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a good point. I think also from a young age, I think it's yes, it's good to get goalkeeper coaching, but I
Mm.
think also to learn to play outfield with your feet, maybe also experience how it is to play outfield, so that when you're in goal, you can coach your outfield players a bit better because you know how it is. It's so many times when I've played a little bit outfield as a professional as well, just to just to test it out, and then I
Mhm.
understand if I've been running a lot, and then the goalkeeper takes the ball and he just suddenly wants to launch it in behind, and then we have to push out again. Where like when I was
True.
playing right fullback just for fun, and I was just pumped.
Yeah.
And then the goalkeeper in practice just decided to launch it, and then I understand that when they say take it easy, we need to rest.
Hmm.
I understand them better.
True.
So it's I think yeah, experiencing a lot of different stuff from a young age I think is really beneficial.
Hmm.
But then after the time in the US, how what kind of like lessons have you drawn from your time there? What do you feel that you have learned, both maybe as a professional, but also maybe as a human?
I think you grow as a person a lot because you're away from family, from your comfort zone. You go into a country where you don't know the language really well. Like for me, of course, I knew basic English, but it wasn't like I was very good at it. So there's so much that I had to learn. And so I think you grow personally a lot. um, I also got the privilege to be a captain of the team for my last 2 years. So that made me grow in leadership a lot because you
Mm,
you suddenly were responsible of basically the whole group.
mm,
So I think that, I just learned one thing is I learned a lot about cultures. So you get a lot more accepting of other people, you don't just judge because, maybe they have a different background. So that's one thing that really helped me as a human. um, of course, it's language and my studies and all that knowledge. Uh, it's also different types of playing football, which is really helpful. Like we had different systems, different playing styles. So that now helps me in my career now because I know no matter where I go next, I probably already heard of that, playing philosophy. So
yeah,
that's definitely a good thing. So
yeah.
yeah, I could probably mention a million things, but yeah.
Yeah. But over in the US, what is it that they do right, do you think, with women's football? Contrary to us Europeans, of course, there is places where women's football is growing rapidly. I know that, but um, is there any like stuff that we can learn from the US in terms of women's football?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, a bigger sport there. Of course, there's more people, but also
Mm,
to have more academies. I think it's easier to combine school and football over there, even at a young age, which we don't have. Like for us, we have some schools that maybe help. But for me, I went to school all day and then practice at nights. And they just don't have that because they can train in the afternoons or they have the college programs that are basically, for us, we have academies and then you go to pro. But
mm,
for them, they go to college where, they get a degree, which of course is good, but also they have a professional environment where they can play and they grow as players and as persons. And then that gets them the chance to go pro. And of course, their professional league has much more money available, which
yeah.
it's more girls want to go pro because they know they can make money with it,
Yeah.
whereas we just know we have to focus on job because we're not going to make enough money. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense because there's maybe just a few leagues in Europe where you can
Mm.
earn like a good living, and in the other leagues you probably this probably affects your drive as well from a young age. If you see that, or at a certain age that you see that, okay, I might not play in the biggest leagues where I will earn good money. and
Mm.
then because you need probably um, to have work on the side, and then maybe there's a bunch of girls that maybe just drop out of football completely because they see it's
Mm.
probably not worth it
Mm.
financially. Of course, it can be worth it in other ways.
Yeah.
But if you were to do some changes in here in Europe for the women's football, do you are you girls talking about it? What what measures could be taken in place to grow the women's football in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, one thing is definitely getting more girls to play because we have a lot now, but there can still be much more. And of course, you have to find a way to get, more sponsors, to get more people to watch it. And we talk about it a lot how men's teams get so many, like so much audience, and we don't. And we're saying that a lot of times it's because they're comparing the two, but
Mm.
we're not men. We can't run as fast as men. That's just biologically not possible. So, focusing on the different aspect, yes, we're technical, just trying to say, okay, it's almost two different sports. So come support us too. Of course, getting better training facilities. Like some teams train on really bad grounds, and what obviously makes us worse too is that we work all day and then we
Mm.
train. But
Yeah,
imagine you just have training, you know how it is. Like you get so much better if you have less. So I
yeah.
think the first step would just be creating a more professional environment. That doesn't rule out not working at all. Like I think a lot of us want to work because we just are so used to it. But if it would just be work like 3 hours a day and the rest is just for football, I think the level would increase so much that the sponsors would automatically come. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know,
Yeah,
like it's hard because the first step will probably be working together with the men's teams or like with the clubs, putting money from the men's side to the female side so that we can start working less and proving that we can even play better.
mm.
But
Yeah,
I think it's hard because there's so many things that we need to change.
yeah. How do you find that balance beside between having your own business and being a player? How Yeah, because there's not much time left, I guess, after a day to do stuff that you maybe some entertainment or to be with family or friends. I guess you're pretty busy. So how do you find the balance between playing and your business and probably not being drained?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm lucky that I am a mental performance coach. So I
Yeah,
know how important it is, to keep
yeah,
the balance, and I know tools to, help me relax. But it is like some days it's hard. You go to practice, you're already exhausted, and then you have to focus and work hard.
mm,
So, of course, it's not every day it's the same. But for the most part, I just try to, accept my roles and also being able to switch them quickly. So, getting up knowing I'm coach Laura now, and
yeah,
then snapping my fingers knowing I'm the goalkeeper now. That
yeah,
helps a lot because then you can just, you can focus on your task at that moment. And I
yeah,
think that's really important because then even at night when I have a phone call with my friend, I can lock out everything else. I don't have to think, oh, tomorrow we have conditioning or I have 7 calls, whatever. So I think it's just important to be in the moment to realize, hey, this time I take right now is for this task. So that's how I try to, cope with it.
It sounds good. So because I guess then also you need to really pay attention to your sleep and nutrition. So is there do you have any hacks, any uh, any suggestions for the listeners to optimize that in a busy schedule?
It's actually funny because our college coach always told us we have to sleep 9 to 10 hours a night. And then we had 5 a.m. practices in spring. So we had to go to bed at like 7 to get those hours in. And I actually
Wow.
did it back then because I had time. But of course, now I don't have time to sleep 10 hours.
No.
But I think it's just, getting a good routine in where at night you have let's say, 30-minute routine with some reading, off screen stuff so that you can sleep quickly. And then also in the morning when you get up, have like a 10-15 minute routine without screens, just to, wake up and get ready for the day. I think those are important things in terms of recovery. Of course, if you have a lot of practices, I also do like foam rolling and ice bath and stuff like that to take care of my body. Nutrition, I wish we had chefs like you did.
Yeah.
Of course, we cook ourselves, but I just try
Yeah.
to usually meal prep for the whole week so that I don't have to worry about standing in the kitchen for hours. I can just take
Yeah, I
it out
see.
of the fridge, heat it up. So yeah, of course
Well,
it's difficult, but like if you put a little bit of organization and planning behind it, it's definitely possible.
but and then inside Gallen, how is the weekly schedule there with trainings? How many times do you practice? Games, days off. How does a normal week look like?
Mhm. So for the whole team, we have practices 4 times at night. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and it's usually from 5 to 7. That's what the whole team. And then goalkeeper practice we have 3 times a week in the beginning of practice, so it's like no additional time. And then I have a Wednesday morning goalkeeper practice session. That's just for us goalkeepers. And some of the girls have a team session as well, but it's like maybe 7 girls because everyone else works. So for me, obviously, I have the 4 times at night and then one gym session in the morning and one goalkeeper session in the morning. And we try also to do some microdose gym after training sessions to get like the strength part in. But that's mainly, the week of training. And then we play Saturday or Sunday. Of course, if we play Sunday, we have a training Saturday morning. If we play Saturday, we are Sunday off. So usually my off days are Thursday. I'm usually always off. Um,
Mm,
and then sometimes Sunday if we play Saturday.
okay.
Yeah.
So it is pretty busy.
Yeah.
It is actually a lot of training and then managing your business at the same time. That's really
I
good.
mean, I mean, technically, we are like a pro team. We
Yeah.
train almost the same amount as like a men's team would, but we just have to work. So,
It's almost like the third tier here in Norway as well. They are on the men's side, like they
Mhm.
are probably practicing just as much as the pros do, but they still have
Mhm.
work on the side and they still have to travel and they still have to go to training camps.
Remember.
So like to keep like mentally to keep going and to have still have in such a busy schedule to also enjoy your time as a player and also probably at your work. I think yeah, it probably can be a bit challenging for some, but probably if you are also like you are probably you enjoy the business side and you probably enjoy football side still because you're playing. So so yeah, I think yeah, I have a lot of respect for those who keep going and do that. For for the position though, what have you found is has been the most challenging to
You mean as a
in
goalkeeper?
yes.
Um, I mean, there's a lot of things. I think it. What should I say? I mean, it's really challenging that sometimes you have a game where, you have a lot of action and it's easy to stay in the game. But sometimes you don't do anything for like 60 minutes and then suddenly you have shots. So I think it's really hard to, stay focused because you never know what happens. So basically, we can't just switch off. Um, it's also challenging to not let, a goal keep you from playing well because, as we all know, sometimes strikers just hit the ball really, really well and you can't save it. And then to move on from that, it's definitely really hard. Now I'm better at it, but as a young goalkeeper, I would always, play myself for the goals and then maybe play worse after. So I think these two things are, the biggest thing, and not letting, your fear of failure impact you, because of course we know if we make a mistake, they score.
Yeah.
So I think, just keeping that in mind and trying to work on those things to, still play with courage and not thinking, oh, I can't make mistakes. Um, those are definitely challenging things.
Yeah. Have you drawn like parallels to having your own business to playing football at a high level? Have you like do you feel that it helps you in also in your business side of things?
Yeah, I think it definitely helps. I think that, athletes are great leaders or business leaders because
Yeah.
you need so much resilience. You're going to have adversity in your career. You can't tell me someone had the perfect career. And that helps you in business too, because when I started my business, it's not like you have a million clients. You have to find them, you have to work hard, you have to deal with setbacks. And those are all things I had in my football career as well. So I already knew how to deal with it. And it helps me, stay patient, trusting the journey. And so I do think there's a lot of things you can, take from one side to the other.
Yeah. So if there's someone that would like to work with you,
Hmm.
how is like the process of course if there's someone that wants to join you, speak to you, and learn from you and be coached by you, how is the initial process and how is the path for an athlete working with you?
Hmm. So for now, if you're in Germany, Switzerland, or Austria, which are the German-speaking region, we have like free webinars about every month where they get to know us, they get tools already, and then from there they book like a 30-minute call where we check their mindset, we see how they could work, and then they get put in the group setting where we do small group coachings with other
Mhm.
goalkeepers. So that's kind of like the path for them. And for the English speaking part, which I obviously want to attack as well, we're
Yeah.
building the same kind of setting right now. But as of now, all we have is they contact us. We do first 30-minute free call, see where they're at, what they want to work on, and then they get in the English speaking group. But the webinar is, future planned. So,
Okay. But
mhm,
then they get group coaching
mhm.
from you. Is do they have like a community online where they can be and talk to each other, or is it just on the calls itself that they also can exchange yeah experiences and get coached?
Mhm. So, of course, in the weekly sessions, they get the chance to speak with a small group. But then we also have like a platform where they can share their experiences and get insights from others. It's like, yeah, it's almost like a group chat kind of thing with everyone, though. It's not just their group. So they can just post, hey, I had a really bad game. I made this mistake. Can you help me? And then
Yeah.
it's funny because everyone can reply. It's goalkeepers that reply, it can be us coaches that reply. So we just wanted to find something. We're isolated a lot of times. There's maybe like three goalkeepers on our team. A lot of times you're not really close with them because it's competition,
Yeah.
especially on the female side. Like you're not like talking to them about everything because you just don't like each other. It sounds bad, but
Yeah.
it's just the
Yeah.
competition that gets in the way a lot of times, which is
Yeah.
sad. I wish it would be different. But we said, hey, goalkeepers are alone. They're alone in a team sport. So we need to build a community for them where
Mm.
it's not technical. Like we don't really give technical help because we have all sports. Like we have handball, lacrosse, it's not just football. So we don't really go into technical stuff too much besides in the sessions. But we help them with the mental side. We help them, have a community that supports them and knows what they're feeling, their struggles. So yeah, it's really cool. And then of course we also have individual WhatsApp support before games because a lot of times a goalkeeper had a bad practice before the game. It's a young goalkeeper. He thinks now that tomorrow he's going to play bad. So he reaches out like, I had a bad practice. What can I do? And so we help with that as well.
Yeah. Is how what kind of clients do you have? Is it are they young? Are they older? Is it mostly women, boys? How does that look?
Mm, It's funny. From the football side, we have like more boys, but from the other sports, we have more girls, probably because I'm female.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like, I would say it's about 50-50 in terms of everyone. And yeah, so all age
Okay.
wise, they're pretty young still. Because,
Yeah.
like, we're still a pretty new business. Like, I'm not new to coaching, but we're new to this setting where we just coach goalkeepers. It just started in October last year.
Okay.
So it's not like we have, Ederson in our call, because you don't get access to these pro people at first.
No. No.
So we have a lot of young goalkeepers that want to become the next Ederson. So then we are trying to take them, guide them through the process, and maybe have one or two being well known in a couple of years.
Yeah. Nice. You told me that between the female goalkeepers, it was a bit like within the goalkeeper union on the female side, it could be a bit like is it a bit cold or is it how is it? Tell me a little bit more because I'm just before you answer, I as on the men's side, it's pretty we're mates, we
Mm.
managed to or like 99% of my career, we were just mates, of course, fighting for the spot, but at the same time we respected each other, we could have a good time. And if there was one playing, of course you're a bit pissed you're not playing, but it never got to the surface that it was like a cold relationship. So
Mm.
just touch on that a little bit, how you see it in women's football.
Yeah, I think that's where you can feel the difference between women and men. Like, I'm not saying we hate on each other. It's not
No.
that, but like you can just feel a tension between, usually number 2 and number 3 are pretty close, because they're both in the same boat trying to fight for the spot, and number 1 is a little bit more distant. And
Hmm.
then you sometimes feel it in training that you're supposed to play challenging balls, but then you play maybe unsavable, so that the other person has a hard time saving it. It's just like
Hmm.
little things, and it depends, but for the most part in my career it was like that. um Whereas, yeah, it was pretty much even in the US, like, it's just a bit of tension. And of
Okay.
course you talk with each other if you have to. It's not like you don't talk at all, but you can just feel the tension a bit. And then, especially if, like, you put pressure on the number 1 as a number 2, it's like she kind of thinks like it's something personal. I think
Yeah.
that's a bit of an issue in women's sports, that we're maybe taking things more personal.
Mm.
And that's
Mm.
probably what makes it harder to, yeah, be a union where, of course, we try to support each other, but it's just not as close
It's
as probably in men's
in,
sports.
yeah. Yeah, I think probably we are a bit more simple like that.
Mm.
That we manage to just put maybe we compete, but we can still be probably friends on a different level. Is this something that's also uh, within the rest of the group as well? Is there like different parts and sections of the dressing room that sticks more together, or do you manage to come together and have a good time and fight for the same goal together? Or how is it in the dressing room in general?
I think in general, yeah, we try to be one group and support each other. And I also think that it's a bit different for field players, because a lot of times they maybe get some playing time, whereas goalkeepers usually don't sub.
Mm.
But you can still feel like if there's players that don't play at all or get very little minutes, they get mad and maybe try to separate them a little bit. But it's not like, I would say, as a whole group in the dressing room, it's fine. Like, we're all one team. It's more like in the little things that in practice and stuff like that, you feel it. But I could think that that's maybe also because we don't make money. So
Yeah.
or only a little bit, like, you work all day and then you go to practice and you do that every day, you're exhausted, and then you don't get to play. So I think that maybe impacts the whole situation as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point actually, because I think there's probably more variations on how each player feels coming to practice, because we you don't know how that they have been leading up to the practice. You can maybe had a bad day at work, or there can be different stuff in your personal life that maybe throws you off a little bit, as to uh, in the environment I've been in is that you just come in the morning and then you practice. And maybe us boys are maybe a bit better at hiding feelings as well. We
Hmm.
maybe it could be easier for us to just put on a show when we are at practice and in the dressing room with the boys. So I think that's a good point actually, because we all know with maybe a little sleep and low energy, it's not always easy to be on our best side.
Right.
So I think that's a good point. Um, what's your goals with football first and foremost, going forward? Do you have any personal goals, any stuff that you would like to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, I really would like to go to different country again to play somewhere else. Where I don't really care, but I would really love to make some more experiences there. Of course, one big goal I have would be playing Champions League one day. So maybe I'll join a team there.
Yeah,
So yeah, I just want to still play a couple of years, have fun, and still improve. And play for a good team.
yeah. But what's your age now?
I'm 25, so
Yeah, yeah.
I
Then you
mean,
have then you
yeah,
still have time.
but that's the thing, right? We're female, so at one point we have to decide: do we want family or do we want to play
Yeah,
sports until we're 40? So,
yeah.
but I
That's
still have a
another
couple
that's
years
another
for sure.
factor. Yeah, I think we us boys we are fortunate. We don't have all this.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we have it a bit simpler. At just around this, it's less stuff to think about. And then
Right?
okay, but that's nice. And also, of course, football, but then also the business. Because is the business something that you, if you had an offer from Sweden, let's say, is it the business something that you can just bring with you? I guess since it's mostly online.
Yeah, so we mostly do it remote because our athletes enjoy that. They can stay home, they don't have to drive somewhere. And it's a group setting. So obviously, it would be hard to find a location that fits for everyone.
Yeah.
So I would say it's mostly doable no matter where I am. Of course, you have to
Hmm.
see with the times and stuff, but um, it should not be an issue at all, no matter where I
No.
am,
No.
which is
Okay.
great. So.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But and then moving, would you move if there were not so big financial gain, but the sporting side were good? Is that something that would make you make the move?
Yeah, I mean, my goal with my business is that it goes well so that I can afford living no matter what, football gets me.
Hmm.
So, of course, the goal is to have a stable income with my business so that I can take opportunities to bring me forward as an athlete.
Are
So,
you working? Yeah. No,
no, go
keep
ahead.
going, Laura.
Yeah, I was just saying, so if they don't pay me well, but it's a super professional environment, then of course I would do it.
Okay. Is are you working actively together with someone, an agent or an agency to look for opportunities, or are you just taking a bit as it goes?
Yeah, so when I was in the US, like they told me basically you have to have an agent or it's hard to reach out to clubs. So I'm working with an agent and he tries to get me opportunities. But it's not like I of course if I know someone that plays for that club and then they ask me, that would be like an option too. I just always have to talk to my agent. But I think in the female game, it's a lot of times it's yeah they find you something, or it's someone that knows they need a goalkeeper. It's
Mm,
a bit
mm,
different. But
yeah.
I do have an agent that kind of helps me.
Okay. Do you feel also that the agent supports you enough? Is it how is the communication? How is the dialogue between you as the athlete and the agent? Do you talk to each other when there's interest, or is it also like an ongoing dialogue together?
I mean, of course, if there's issues, you can always reach out. He also checks in every once in a while, but usually it's like closer to, the transfer window where he reaches out and asks, "Hey, what's your plan?" And then maybe he just messages you when he gets offers or interest.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I think this is kind of an interesting topic actually, because I think from a young age, you hear about agents fixing you moves and fixing moves for others and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I'm also going to take my agent's license in June, hopefully, and hopefully I'll pass.
Cool.
I know there's a lot of people that have tried that haven't passed it. I think
Okay.
there was an exam in September, and I think only September of 24, and only 20%
Oh
passed.
wow.
So we'll see. I haven't studied since I was 14, 15. So we'll see we'll see how it goes. But anyways, I still think it's very underrated what you can do on your own as well. Um, a simple Google search for if there's a club or clubs that you would like to join. Sending an email, try to make a call.
Mhm.
Email, I think, is the best because then you can explain a bit who you are and what you're about, and you can also, attach some video of you playing and practicing. So I think that's a good thing to do. Also on your own.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a fine line. Of course, you have to talk to your agent because usually you have contracts and you have to be careful of what you're allowed to do.
Yeah,
But I think there's nothing wrong as long as before talking about offers, you tell your agent, hey, look, they might be interested, you know? It's just like you have to be transparent and not trying to do too much behind their back. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with trying to find your club on your own for sure.
yeah, and I think that should be taught. I think it should be taught from a young age that networking is a huge
Hmm.
part of football as well because you can have your best games, your best season, but if it's in a league where there's almost no exposure, there's maybe
Hmm.
no televised games, and they're maybe not being filmed, then you have to be, if you want to play on the high level, you have to be conscious of maybe having someone film your games and so that you have some stuff to and content to put out to clubs. Um, because as I've gotten older, I've also learned about the business behind football, and there's a lot of stuff I don't like about it. Because very often it's about who you know to get the opportunity to play for a team or to just get a chance for a trial for a team. I think teaching younger girls, younger boys how to network, how to get in contact with the right people, and then again knowing how to present yourself is a huge skill. I think
Yeah.
in football.
And not only in football, you know, like even for my business now, if I don't network, I will never get more goalkeepers joining our program, you know?
Mm.
So networking is a skill you need in all areas of your life. So
Yeah,
I think it should be a school subject, you know?
yeah, I think so. Me as well. Now that I've retired and I try to build my own stuff. Like I'm going to build my own like goalkeeper academy and that's also that sort of stuff. And then you need good partners. You need maybe businesses supporting the academy, and yeah, you need to network and get the right people on board. If not, it's possible to do it on your own, but having other people behind you and you know maybe travel to meet people that can help you financially or even help you meet other people that you can network with there again. Yeah, I think it's a huge skill to have. So I also um, there was like an Insta story also that I did a Q&A, and then people asked me how they can go pro and how they can
Hmm.
get to a better team, and then I told them this,
Hmm.
try to learn how to network, how to send an email, how to call, how to present yourself. Big skill that I don't think many people think about because they think about
Hmm.
how can I catch the ball, how can I kick longer,
Yeah.
how you know. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think
it's
this
true.
there's it's maybe something you can should put in your program as a side hustle as to teach the students that you have.
Hmm. Or I'm going to make an online course on that topic, you know, so we can
Yeah.
give it to everyone. We'll see.
Yes.
I mean, it's a good idea for sure.
Yeah. Um. So, oh, I had a question. such a good question on my tongue here. Um, yeah, it was about business
Mhm.
going forward. Or did I ask you about that? Did you have any goals for the business? Did I ask you?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
No, that's also because I'll ask you
You
about the
asked
football.
for
Uh,
football, yeah.
yeah, and then how, like, where do you want to take your business then? What's
I
like
mean,
the big goal?
the big goal would be that every goalkeeper in all the countries knows our business, knows our name. MindSave, for those who don't know it yet,
Yeah.
is our name. And I mean, I just want to be, the leading mental performance partner for goalkeepers, because I think it's really underestimated that we have such a different skill setting needed in terms of the mental game, as we talked about pressure and everything. Uh, so I would love to help goalkeepers all around the world, improve their game. And not even that, like, of course, if you have 1,000 goalkeepers, not everyone's going to make it pro. But for me, especially with the young goalkeepers, it's not only about their path to become pro, it's also about them as a person. What are they going to do, and I want to help them learn something for life so that no matter if they create their business, they become pro, or they just decide to work for a company, that they're going to find their way. And I want to guide them through that journey no matter where it leads.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
see. Is there any what's the plan of growing the business? Because I saw on your profile that you've had a podcast, right?
I
Uh
did.
yeah.
That was actually it's funny. It's the We Need to Be Loud podcast. It's on ice right now, but it was mainly about the gender pay gap in sports. So
Okay.
I did talk with pro hockey players. I had football. So we just talked about the differences in payment and what we can do, which I
Hmm.
do think it's a really important topic. But for now, I want to focus on my mental performance side, because as you know, my hours each day are limited, so I kind of had to set priorities. But I did
Yeah.
do that podcast. I also want to launch a podcast for our business, but it's going to take some time. But yeah.
So then you how are you growing? Are you reaching out to clients, or do you now try to have it by maybe people talking and then referring you onwards to maybe friends or other players?
Mhm. So, like for the free webinars, we emailed a bunch of teams in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, and a lot of them got back to us, sent it to their goalkeepers. It's obviously also social media. For now, a lot of it is referral, like someone heard about it and tells their goalkeepers. But of course, we also want to reach out to like academies and see if we can somehow collaborate with them. So yeah, there's different ways. Of course, you can also do paid advertisement. We haven't done that so far, but for the future, we're looking into that as well.
Yeah. It's so there's so much stuff now with AI as well.
Hmm.
And when you have a business, you feel that you need to do everything,
Yeah.
all the stuff that's bombarded against you to make it grow. There's so many things you should do. So I think navigating that jungle and just picking a couple of things that
Mhm.
you want to do full heartedly and to try and make your business grow, it's not easy. It's not easy. No, it's
Yeah.
really not. So yeah, but that sounds good. Sounds really good. Emailing. Are you building an email list?
Yeah, so of course we have the teams, but then everyone that signs up for the webinar also is in our email list, and they get like we write blog articles about topics, so they get that emailed, and whenever we have something new, they get emailed. So we have all the email context. We sometimes have phone numbers. Like we have a field for phone number if you want to fill it out, and a lot of them actually do. So we could also put advertisements through like WhatsApp and stuff in the future. So we do
Okay.
have some methods. We're also trying to grow, social media. Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
strategies we're developing right now. But as you said, like you have to fully plan it before executing and see, maybe even split test what works well with our customers, because
Yeah.
goalkeepers are different. It's not like the same as for maybe a different business. So you kind of have to find out what your target group wants. Of course, it's a bit easier for me because I'm a goalkeeper. I know what I would click on.
Hmm.
So that helps for sure. But it's still
Yeah.
it's not the same for every sport. So you kind of just have to find out what they want to see. Yeah, and then just being good at the free calls where you can actually point out to them why it is so important to take care of your mental side. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
about like that's the process right now. In the future, hopefully we have calls in line, everyone waiting to work with us. But yeah, that's future talk.
Oh yeah, I will for sure give you a shout out when I post the podcast. When I post on stories and stuff to give you a shout out and probably hopefully get you a couple of clients.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Also, when you were younger, there's always some kind of inspiration or maybe someone you looked up to when you started playing. Who has been your like inspiration growing up?
It's actually been Jan Sommer, the Swiss national team goalkeeper playing for Inter right now.
Yeah, nice.
Um, I mean, you obviously know him, but I don't know if everyone listening knows him. It's funny because I don't even know, I think I was about 10, and he was on loan for Vaduz, which is a really bad team in Switzerland. And I told my mom, I'm like, hey, I like this goalkeeper. He's cool. And she's like, okay, well, weird. No one knows him. And then a couple of years later, he was like our national team goalkeeper. And we have a lot
Wow.
of similarities, because he's short for the men's side. I like a lot of people told him like, hey, you're not going to make it to a great team, and look where he plays now. And he's just, yeah, like he's the super nice guy. Like I talked to him a couple of times at like when they had open trainings for the national team, and he was
Mm.
also always so nice. And my probably favorite memory was I was 12 and had to give a presentation in school about my idol. And back then no one had managers doing their Facebook account, so I was lucky enough that he still managed his own Facebook account. And
Okay.
I reached out to him asking like, hey, who was your idol? And I just had a couple questions, and he sent me a huge message back, and that like made my whole entire career almost. Like I
Wow.
was so happy. And so yeah, he was always someone I looked up to, um not only on the field but also off the field. He's just leading by example, and so he was definitely one of my biggest idols and people I looked up to.
Nice. I think it's a good role model to have, Jan Sommer.
Yeah.
You are more lucky than me because I sent him his management an email
Mhm.
just praying to have also him on the podcast, but I got
Oh,
declined. Yeah,
yeah.
so I got declined, but maybe if it's a bigger podcast in the future, then maybe I
Yeah, I
will have him
mean,
on.
I know for now it's really hard because, of course, he's such a big person now. I know even
Yeah.
the Swiss television had issues getting him in for an interview just because he's so
Wow.
busy. So, yeah,
Wow.
so I think I was like maybe a year before the management took over. So, yeah, now, young people, if you message him, I'm sorry, but probably won't happen.
No,
But
no,
I
I
don't
think
know,
that
maybe you fly to Milan and talk to him in person and
yeah,
convince him.
I can fly to Milan and just stay outside of the training ground and just
Yeah.
with a big sign. If you
Will
would
you
like to
join
join
my
my
podcast?
yes, please, Jan, please. I talked to Laura and she has talked to you. She
Yeah.
told me I could come and join your podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who
Okay.
knows? Like as we tell young athletes, have big dreams, so should you.
Yeah.
I would love to
Yeah.
see him on your podcast soon.
Yeah. It's yeah, I think but then I think it's really nice to hear that he responded to you because
Mhm.
of course I probably missed someone in my life as well as a professional, but when people message me on Instagram, I really try to answer most of them because I know for me it doesn't take a lot of energy, and for them it will actually be a huge thing for me to reply to a question they might have or anything. So
Mhm.
it makes my heart warm when I hear that he responded to you.
Yeah. I mean, of course, at some point, you probably like for a player like him, you probably get too many messages and you
Yeah,
just don't want to deal with it. But as long as you're doing it yourself, I think we're still, especially the FEMA side, we're privileged that we're not having managers doing that for us. So I do think that's a big advantage on our side
Mm.
because we get to talk to girls and boys. Like if they message us, we usually message back. And as you
Yeah.
said, like it takes a couple seconds for you, but it means the world to them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Laura, it's been a really good chat. Your business, please tell me where the listeners can go to find you.
Yeah. I mean, it's mindsave.ch. The website is in preparation right now to have a fully English version of it too. But that's where you find us. And you find us on social media, of course, at mindsave underline academy. Yeah. I would love to see
Nice.
you. Mind
I will.
safe.
I
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
you make saves with your mind
Yeah.
because you're
It's a
doing
good
mental
name.
performance training.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a good name. Perfect. Yeah, I really liked the talk. It was really nice, and I'm very happy, and yeah, happy that you
Yeah.
wanted to join. So
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. For us female players, it always means the world if, people are interested in our path and our struggles. So, thank you very much for using your platform to get people like to get the message to people. So,
Yeah,
thank you very much. It was a
no
pleasure.
problem, and no problem. And then hopefully now the goalies and other athletes that listen to this, they have to go into MindSafe and
They do have
use
to.
you. Yeah,
It would be kind of magician if I would say you actually save it with your mind, but if you train your
yeah,
mind right,
yeah.
you're going to become the next, Ederson or whoever you want to be.
Perfect.